Things that I've learned from. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, hi everyone. Let us know if you see us. I'm gonna wait a bit and let us know if you guys can see us. Sorry, what were you saying, guys? Sorry, what were you saying, Dave, just now?
Yeah, right. We can talk about some the things that I've learned from my neuro plasticity class. Well, what makes neuroplasticity work, and the things that you can
Wait, hold
do
on, hold
to.
on, hold on. Yes, neuroplasticity as well. Yeah, absolutely. Let's just first make sure that people can actually see us. Guys, if you can see us, please message, comment in the live or message in the group. I know we also have a live group. So just message us now so we know that you guys can see us. I know there might be a little bit of a delay, but hopefully we should be yes, we can hear you. Yay. Okay, wonderful. Thank you guys for watching this today. So I know we have a lot of new joiners in the group, newcomers. Yeah, newcomers in the group. So we are going to have an overview of everything we believe in, we do, and everything, all the ways that ADHD can be. I don't like to use the word helped because I don't think it's a problem, as I posted earlier today. And in fact, Dave and I sometimes clash in that way because he sees it as something to overcome and I see it as something to be used and harnessed in the best way. But I think both of us are right in that there are certain things that we need to overcome. There are certain things that are just not helpful. But there are other things that are your absolute genius in disguise, as I like to call it. And so you just need to learn to use that genius and be okay with who you are and have the right strategy to do things your way and not worry about all these weird neurotypical people, basically, and just do life your way. Right, Dave?
Yeah, if you can use the ADHD, the power that we have, but people who have ADHD to focus on what we really are interested in, and don't worry about all those things that we're not interested in. People tell us that we need to do. People tell us the courses that we need to study in college and the degree that we need to get and the job that we need to get. Find, use your ADHD to find what you love to do, and once you find what you love to do, then you'll be so much more happier, you'll be so much more free, and you won't have that struggle, which makes the ADHD worse any longer.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, Dave. I'm just gonna say hello to whoever's watching us here. Oh, we have so many people. We have Cheryl, Libby, Alexander, Jacob. Jacob, I hope your phone lasts. Thank you guys for joining us here today. So I thought that we could kind of talk about all these elements one at a time today. So with every kind of therapy, self-development work, we tend to talk about the 4 levels: the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual level. And I would also say we can add here in the ADHD the financial level as well, because what Dave said, find what you love, and just do that and don't worry about the rest of it and what people tell you. Well, that's all great, unless something you love doesn't make you money just yet. So kind of being able to deal with this world and live in this world is also very, very important. It's not, I mean, and that's something that we people with ADHD struggle with. Like, we can't do normal, right? We can't do the everyday boring tasks. We are so great at at danger. That's why so many of us are in the military or policemen or something like that, something that requires a lot of dopamine, or therapists, or anything that is basically fascinating, interesting, and requires you to be in a kind of heightened state of mind. But anything that's normal and everyday, we're just not so very good at. But we still need to do that thing called life. you know, the way society requires it. So we can talk about that too. And I would say, yes. So Dave, I agree with you that the first thing is to, on a spiritual level, I would say, let's put it that way, on a finding your purpose sort of level, you need to find what you really love doing and really focus on that, because that's what's going to drive you forward. That'll give you that sense of a sense of purpose going forward. Let's start it sequentially: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and then we talk about that financial, kind of doing life sort of thing. So on a physical level, I would say, I mean, we know that there are actual differences in our brain compared to a neurotypical person, right? So there are supplements. I think someone in the group mentioned earlier, there are supplements that help. We do have a specific life dedicated to supplements, breathing, and everything that's physical. So we recommend you watch that too. But supplements help, certain foods help as well. So if you have, let's say, just been diagnosed, and you don't know where to even start, and you're all over the place and so on, I would say you can start with that. That's like the quickest thing you can do. Dave, you want to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Some things that help. One is try to get at least 8 hours of a sleep per night if you can. You know, a lot of people who have ADHD. You know, I was one of those once, and still am. They tend to stay up really late. You know, and then they try to get up early in the morning. You know, and then they're dead tired through the whole day at work. You know that they aren't feeling right, they aren't thinking right, which makes their ADHD go wild. You know, so you have to get to bed at a normal hour. Try to get 8 hours of sleep if you can. Um, you mentioned the right foods.
Yeah,
Try
I
to
want to
eat.
say something on sleep. I definitely agree with that, with you on that, Dave. Definitely, yes, that's a big one. I think it actually, if we have to pick one out of the physical elements, that's probably the most important one. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've noticed that if I don't get my sleep, still to this day, with all the healing, all the therapy, all the self-work I've done, which has helped tremendously, if
Mhm.
I don't get enough sleep, I become irritable. I'm not a nice person to be around. And the other thing is that you have to try to go to bed at the same time, more or less, before 12, ideally. If you're a night owl, that's fine. I mean, find your balance. However, try to make it as regular as you can. The issue is that we start dopamining, as I learned that term the other day, mining for dopamine, reading, researching late at night, and then we don't go to sleep. But you have to stick to a regular schedule, because otherwise you really suffer. Zinc, we'll talk about supplements in a second, but zinc is something that has helped me go to bed, like kind of be able to sleep, to go to sleep quicker. And yeah, just try to get that regular sleep. I mean, I've been trying to adjust to my partner's sleep patterns, works shifts, and every week is different, and it's been a
Mhm.
nightmare. So try to get this regular at the same, go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. And if you do some sort of shift work yourself or something like that, um again, try to rest in the in-between times and get enough sleep. If you do shift work, that can be really tough and can really mess up with your schedule. But as much as you can, try to get not only enough sleep, but also regular sleep. Go to bed and wake up at the same time. Yeah, supplements.
Supplements, yeah, right. Try to get supplements that have certain amino acids that are good for the brain. And I'm trying to think of the name of some of them. Tyrosine is one of
Yep,
them.
that increases dopamine.
Yeah. Hang on for a sec. I got one here, right here.
Tyrosine or tyrosine, tryptophan is what increases serotonin.
Tryptophan
Taurine is
is.
a good one.
There is another one called
Again, I just want to say
uh,
to you guys watching this is going to be an overview of everything, but we have a half an hour to 40-minute long live in this group on supplements, on anything physical. Yeah, so we watched. So what do you recommend, Dave, there? What do you have there?
Yeah, there's one more called phos phosphatidylserine.
Oh, I never heard that before. Interesting. Maybe you
Yeah,
can take a picture later and upload it in the group or in the live, or maybe just in the group as well. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
taurine is another great one. It increases GABA, tyrosine. Yeah, so much great stuff. Fish oil has been proven to
Fish
help.
oil. Yeah. I was going to say that, which is also good for your heart. Also,
Oh,
you know,
well, there you
a
go.
lot of fish oil or fish. You know, especially salmon. You know, salmon is the most healthy form of fish.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been, yeah, I have been increasing my salmon intake for the last week, and I feel great. Definitely salmon is a great fish. What if you're not a fish eater? Poultry helps as well. So anything that's not red meat, but rather red meat, eggs, if you're not a fish eater, but if you can eat fish, that would be
Yeah,
ideal.
any,
If you're vegan, there are also vegan substitutes to fish oil. So I believe it's I forgot what it's called, but it's
yeah,
some sort of
hemp oil,
hemp,
flax oil,
that's it, flaxseed oil or flax oil.
flaxseed oil.
Yeah, flaxseed oil is also great. Yes, lots and lots of good supplements there, but fish oil has been researched a lot and really helps. For me, ginkgo biloba is also magical. That really, really helps. Um,
Uh, why
yeah,
why don't we do a good Google here real quick?
we don't need to do Google because we know our stuff, Dave.
We know our stuff. Okay. All right.
But
All right. Okay.
also, we do have a whole live specifically on supplements. So you can just watch that, and we post a link here as well. So ginkgo biloba for me has been great. Tyrosine didn't work for me, but it is supposed to increase dopamine. It does increase dopamine. So it should, I mean, it works generally. You have to find what works for you. Experiment with supplements, find what works for you. Some certain mushrooms help as well, not the hallucinogenic
Yeah.
type, but
Yeah.
certain mushrooms.
One called lion's mane.
Very, yeah, that's it. Very popular as well. And then, like Dave said, fish, just fish, not fish oil, but fish, especially salmon, mackerel as well, really, really good. Fish increases tryptophan, which is the kind of the precursor to, not the kind of, but the precursor to to serotonin, sorry, which again, a lot of us actually, I believe, are not only low on dopamine, and therefore we don't have enough motivation for boring tasks, but also because of our high cortisol levels and being in that constant fight or flight, being constantly tense, being constantly hypervigilant on the lookout for some danger, we are low on serotonin. So we don't have that base level of peace and happiness. Serotonin whereas dopamine is all about motivation, as I'm sure you know. If you have ADHD, serotonin is all about that well-being, that sense of well-being, and that counterbalances the cortisol. Which reminds me, adaptogens lower cortisol levels, so also very good for ADHD, because we definitely need that. We definitely need to lower our cortisol in order to allow the good stuff, the dopamine and serotonin, to come out. Let me just check some comments before we move on to the next level. Yeah, Dave, Pinelon line 9 or something like that. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Jacob, but I'll check it out. I used to take valerian to help me sleep. Yes, yes, that helps as well. Anything that's herbal, yeah, that helps as well. Theanine, that's another great one, absolutely. So all of the essential amino acids are helpful in one way or another. And again, you have to experiment with what works for you and in what combination. Now, one big disclaimer, if you're already on some sort of medication, Adderall, Ritalin, Elvance, whatever brand name it is, anything for ADHD or for anxiety or depression, be careful, because some of these things will interact with the medication. If, for example, if you're on antidepressants, have to be careful with anything that's serotonin increasing. Tyrosine increases dopamine. So if you're already on ADHD medication, you may have too much dopamine, which is not a great thing. You may have experienced that yourself if you have taken too much medication. So you have to be careful and consult your doctor ideally, and also just be reasonable with these things. So you have to be responsible and reasonable when it comes to taking anything physical. The other thing is that when you start healing, and we'll talk about that in a second, when you start deep emotional work, because your stress levels will go down, your whole biochemistry will change through the healing process, and therefore your responsiveness to those, even to your typical medication, but also to supplements, will change. So expect changes as you do the healing process. For example, if you have done some deep work for a month and you have understood and resolved some things from your childhood and some childhood trauma, then your biochemistry will change. You may become more sensitive to stimulants. In fact, what happens over time as we heal is that the stimulant medication, we start to experience more the negative side effects of the stimulant medication as we heal, and not so much the positive effects, such as increasing the motivation and focus. So just be mindful of that as you start a healing process. And that's, by the way, not a reason not to heal, but that will help you reduce your prescription meds eventually, which is, I believe, what we ultimately want to do. I believe we all want to be as natural as, to not be dependent and reliant on prescription drugs, but rather to heal ourselves. At least that's what Dave and I always advocate. And yeah, that's what I hope we all aim for. Okay, so anything else on the physical level? Should we go next to mental? Yeah, Dave. Yes, you're not in class, you can just speak.
One more thing that's really good on the physical level is go to the gym, exercise, go out and ride a bike, anything that gets your body moving, gets you breathing hard. Does a lot for your brain also. We've known for a long time it's good for your body, but they're finding out also now it's good for your brain also. It clears out the toxins in your brain, and it allows your brain to create more of those neurotransmitters that it needs. Like dopamine, serotonin, etc. All of those. So go out and exercise more.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Dave. That's actually really, really important. Garden exercise. I mean, all the good stuff, serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, everything is boosted through all the good stuff is boosted through exercise. Make sure you stretch. Make sure you stretch, because if you don't stretch, you may increase the cortisol as well too much. Stretching is very, very important to balance that. Stretch before and after, and again, anything that gets your heart racing, very good for you, but also some anaerobic exercise, in other words, work like muscle workout, that helps as well. And then we didn't talk about breath work. Dave here is an expert on heart math and breath work.
Yeah, yeah. I'm certified in a form of a breathing meditation called heart math. What they've done research on is if you keep your breaths at 5 seconds for the inhalation, and then 5 seconds for the exhalation also, which is pretty slow. Most people breathe at 1 or 2 seconds per inhalation and exhalation, which is way too fast. And when you're breathing fast, it gives your brain the message that we're stressed out, you know. But if you're breathing really slowly and deeply, it sends a signal to your brain through the vagus nerve that we're relaxed now, and your heart rate slows down, and your brain slows down also, and if you were in fight or flight previous to doing that, just by doing that 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out, it'll put you out of fight or flight into a more relaxed mode. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be 5 seconds. There's other forms of breath work. I've heard one where they're doing 7 seconds on the inhalation and about, and then hold it for 7, and then exhale on 8 seconds, I think, which is even more slow than 5 seconds. It's pretty hard. It's very slow, but that'll get you even more relaxed, I think. It would be a little difficult to do it over a long-term basis, over longer than 10 minutes, I think. But there's people that swear by these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually recently did a workshop on breath work as well. And actually, I'm going to show you a technique as well. So yeah, I mean, most standard treatments for anxiety and so on, they recommend breathing in for 4 or 5 seconds. There's actually something called 4, 6, 7 breath as well. So we breathe in for 4, hold for 6, and breathe out for 7. So the out breath should always be longer than the in breath. So 4, there's another one I did recently, which is recommends 4, 4, 6. I think, I mean, the exact seconds aren't of importance. You're not going to count. I mean, focusing on counting can actually help you not get distracted, in my opinion, but whether it's 6 or 7 seconds is not of importance. The important thing is that the in breath is a little bit, is long, but the out breath is even longer. So one thing I learned recently, which I think is absolutely amazing for soothing your brain as opposed to having more energy. There are different types of breathing. Some are for calming down your nervous system, as Dave said, and sending that message that you're relaxed, even if you may be in a stressful situation. And other types of breath work are more for having energy. Let's say if you've worked all day and you're down and you just need that energy for that next meeting. So what we use for soothing, for kind of calming the system down, and what we can use initially when we start the breath work is breathing through the mouth, but with our mouth closed. So how does that work? Whoever's watching this, let's all do this together. I wish you had I had you on camera right now. It would be really fun. So imagine that you're really hot. It's a really hot day. And then you find this cold drink and you have it. And you're like, so that's what the out breath is. You're not breathing through the nose. You're breathing through using the mouth muscles. We call it a Darth Vader breath as well. However, you close your mouth and the air actually gets in through the nose, although you are using the muscles here to breathe in. So instead of doing, I'm not sure if you can hear through the camera, the Darth Vader breath, but essentially I'm not using my nose to do, you can see it moving. It's through the mouth, through the throat, but with your mouth closed. So the air gets, it's sucked in through the mouth, but it gets in through the nose, if that makes sense. And you do that 10 to 12 times, 3 rounds. Let's just do it a couple of times, Dave. That's for calming down, okay? The other thing you can use for calming, for soothing your nervous system is through the nose, you breathe in through one nostril, breathe in, breathe out through the other. Breathe in through this one. Or you can do it with one hand. So if you're in an anxiety, sort of in an anxious mode, or, if you're feeling anxious, do this a few times and you instantly feel, I mean, as you have noticed, even my way of talking has slowed down because it instantly calms your nervous system down. Again, I think we have a specific recording on that, on breath work, as well as everything else that's physical. So go ahead and watch that. But yeah, all these techniques help you calm down, as well as what Dave explained earlier. And yeah, you can use those right away, and you can see the difference. Breathe in through mouth closed and out through mouth closed as well. From yeah. Yeah, all of these techniques are very ancient, absolutely. The other one that's kind of the opposite for energy increase is through the nose and out through the nose. Yeah, so there are, yeah, so perhaps we'll do a specific one on breath work where you can put together your knowledge and my knowledge and do one specific video, maybe 10-15 minute long, on breath work that people can use. We'll do that. Anything else on the physical before we move on? I think we've covered everything.
One more thing on sleeping. You know, one thing I found that helped me get to a sleep at night. I used to have a real problem with that. Is instead of taking just a hot shower, which didn't really solve the problem for me, I found that if I took a hot shower followed up by a really cold shower, as cold as I could make it, you know, that would not only calm me down, but would also cool your body down. And when you sleep, you know, your body has to be cooled down before you can sleep. You know, so that kind of solved two problems at the same time. It calmed me down, and it cooled my body down at the same time also. So I could get to sleep real quickly.
Mm-hmm. So actually a cold shower before bedtime helps you get to sleep quicker. Is that right? Cold, hot and cold shower before bedtime rather than in the morning. You do that in the evening. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So cold shower and zinc in the evening and you sleep like a baby. The other thing you reminded me of, Dave, thanks for that, is ice baths. So the purpose, I mean, some people say that you're crazy to do that. I did an ice bath recently, and what the purpose of doing that is to teach your system that even in a situation of stress, such as being in ice, which is pretty stressful, it's actually physically stressful as opposed to just mentally stressful, which, as we know, the response is the same. But the purpose of that is to teach us that even in a situation of stress, when your sympathetic nervous system is aroused, in other words, you are in a stress response, you can, through breathing, through breath work, tell your body that everything's okay and activate your parasympathetic nervous system. In other words, calm down. Okay, so through the breath work that I did, and then being in the ice bath, I actually managed to stay there, not only stay there for 5, 6, 7 minutes in the bath, in the ice. Some people do it for longer, but also actually start enjoying it. You can actually tell your body through breath work that everything's fine, and that's the purpose of breath work through in stressful situations. If you have a chance to do an ice bath, I highly recommend doing it, because you see the benefit of breath work and you understand what it really means. Plus, it gives you a ton of energy, and it's just amazing. It really will shift something in your nervous, in your kind of mindset, so to speak. So, okay, shall we talk about the mental element of it, and what we mean by mental in this ADHD sense is, but you know, how we think about things, which is a little different from other people. It has been proven that actually different parts of the brain light up. But also I want to talk a little bit about self-talk, because the difference between all the genius people with ADHD, all the successful people with ADHD, the business owners, the inventors that have often been said that they would have been diagnosed with ADHD, like Thomas Edison, like Einstein, all these people are said to have had ADHD because they thought differently, because they were a little weird in their social kind of, you know, environment. But they're also geniuses. And what's the difference between them and anybody who's not so successful at whatever they're doing? Well, one might be finding your purpose, and we'll also talk about that, but also is that self-talk, right? And I think it's very, very important. I mean, I used to tell myself 6, 7 years ago, not that long ago, that I feel so bad, that I'm so depressed. I hate this and I hate that. And this is so bad and this just sucks and all of that. And it would affect me. Even now that I say these words, I already feel worse than I felt 2 seconds ago. So everything you feed your mind through your thoughts, through your self-talk affects you. There's a great book on that, very, very old book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. Highly recommended reading. Yeah, so a big part is not the ADHD, it's not the fact that we think different. Again, I want to emphasize that. It's not the fact that we're a little different, that we have no tolerance for anything that's boring and normal, and that we are only interested in certain things and that we may overreact. It's how we talk to ourselves about it, because somebody down the line, somebody in our past made us feel guilty about who we are. And therefore we start saying, oh, this is shit and this is so bad and I'm no good at anything. And all that self-talk is impacting you right now. So what I want you to do is, for everyone watching this and everyone still kind of struggling with ADHD, is to really notice how you talk to yourself, and even write it down if you can, and really notice those thoughts. And if you say anything that's negative, tone it down. You don't hate this, oh, maybe just a little bit annoying, but that's okay. It doesn't last forever. And if you like it, or if you like something about yourself, really make that bigger. So Dave, I know you want to say something.
Um, yeah, we have to have a growth mindset. A mindset that we're growing out of these problems that we have. We're growing away from all the things that we've been told when we were children. Like we can't do this. We can't do that. We have to get into the mindset where we believe in ourselves, that we can do anything if we just work at it the hard enough. And that there's one, and two, that's even easier if we learn how to connect to our intuitive side, our higher self. Some call it, some call it the God. Then we don't have to work hard at all. Then things just come to us with no work at all. So that's one more thing. Yeah, that's getting more into the spiritual side. Not the mental side. But
I actually agree with you. No, I actually think this is the right place to put here, the higher self and the intuition, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. I actually think is the perfect place to put it in the mental realm, because we are taught by society that we need to think logically about things. And the truth is that the only thing you feel with your gut, with your intuition, with your higher self, what is right for you. So actually, I absolutely agree with you, Dave. We need to learn to talk to ourselves positively, because we're accustomed to making firstly, other people made us feel bad about ourselves, and then we started making ourselves feel bad about ourselves. So hey, no need for external talk. Now it's all in your head. So we need to change that. And secondly, we need to learn to connect with that intuition, higher self, instead of logically reasoning through things, because that logic is so tainted with society's norms and regulations and rules, which we don't fit in anyway. So it doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. Society, family, whatever else. It's not even your own logic. We think we're logical beings, but we are not. That's actually proven by economists. People are not rational beings. And secondly, our own logic is tainted by what society makes us want to believe and what our family wants us to believe and so on. And actually, those genius people that we just talked about, they didn't listen. And that's the difference. They didn't listen to those societal norms and rules and regulations, and they connected with their intuition. Think and Grow Rich, another great book, which maybe we can mention in the financial realm. But again, that talks about connecting with something bigger. that's what Napoleon Hill found to be the case. All these famous people, famous rich and people, they connected with something bigger than themselves. They visualized what they wanted to create, and they trusted that kind of source, higher power, higher self, intuition, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So I think it's actually a perfect place. Anything else?
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, some of us, we may have been traumatized by our past, and we might need either some form of therapy or both. You and I are coaches, and we know how to take people back to their childhood and review those traumas and gain power over those traumas, and see that, you aren't that little kid who was traumatized anymore. You're a grown up person who can see your life in a totally different light, that you couldn't do when you were a small child being traumatized.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we work with, hypnotherapy, RCT, is a great ways to do that, to see things in a different light. Absolutely. Because we actually think like small children. And until we upgrade that software in our heads, things won't change until we see things differently. Absolutely. Yeah, and that links to the emotional side as well. I mean, through therapy, we both change our reasoning, our mind, and the emotions. And obviously, we know they impact each other. But we know, and I'm kind of leaping into the next realm, the emotional realm. We know the emotional brain always wins. So if you find it too difficult, if you see ADHD really negative right now, and if you say, oh, I've done this, but I do supplements and I get enough sleep, and I, and I have an assistant, I write things in my calendar, but I'm still forgetful and I'm still not happy, there's probably a huge emotional burden that you still need to work with. Oh, but I've been in therapy for the last 10 years. Great. Talking therapy, great for self-awareness. That's what I always say. Not so great for actually healing and fixing things. So if you have been in therapy, we recommend that you take the next step and actually start healing through approaches that work with on a subconscious level, because your emotions are in the subconscious, and that subconscious mind will always win, right? You may think, oh, that's not logical, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't eat this cake, let's say, to self-soothe or to to make myself feel better. I shouldn't light that cigarette, I shouldn't do drugs, I shouldn't, whatever your bad habit of choices, I shouldn't do this. But your emotional brain is driving you to do this. Your habit, also in the subconscious, but also your emotions, an unresolved trauma. Because a trauma, by definition, is something that's not resolved, something that has not made it to the conscious mind. So it's there working, its way through, and affecting you and making you react in certain ways. And then you're like, well, I don't know why I react in this way. So if you have experiences where, so I don't know why I reacted in this way, I don't know what made me do this, it's like something outside of me, that's the trauma that hasn't even made it to your conscious mind. And through hypnotherapy and RTT and the approach we work with, we help you remember what happened, change that, reframe that, so you mentally upgrade and not think like that small child who is still being triggered by someone rejecting them, for example. Actually act like a grown-up, and also to let go of those negative emotions that are kind of making you do things or reversely not do things because you're too scared, for example, to do something. So yes, so you need to remember what happened first. And by remembering doesn't mean you relive it. If you think something awful is going to happen, you don't relive it, you're actually able to let go of it. So very, very important part of the process. And I don't believe that any healing is complete without actually working on a subconscious level. What about you, Dave? Do you think that we can, for example, just meditate and do all the spiritual stuff and then take supplements and get enough sleep and then everything is fine and we can just do that?
It helps. like I said, many of us also have had trauma back in childhood, and besides doing all those things that you said there, you also have to go back and review those traumas and realize, that you aren't that little kid who was traumatized anymore. You're an adult who can make rational decisions and can um, realize, that the people who were telling you those negative things about yourself, usually parents, but they probably were traumatized in their childhood also,
Mm,
and they're just uh, dumping their trauma that they had as children on you,
yeah.
because that's all they know, but you have to realize it's not your fault. They were just doing the best that they knew how. So it's not really their fault either, because they didn't know, any better way to deal with stress besides taking it out on their children, But
Yeah.
oh, and yeah, and one more thing I wanted to say. After we show you how to gain strength over that trauma, then we'll help you visualize what your perfect life would look like, and just hold that vision of the perfect life. And studies have shown, that if you can hold a vision of what your perfect life would look like without the problems that you're currently going through now, but just a perfect life where you have everything that you've always wanted, and you can maintain that vision over a long period of time. Your subconscious mind, or some would say it's your higher self. It's not your subconscious mind, but it will help you get that perfect life to slowly and attract pieces of that perfect life into your current life until eventually your current life is gone, and you're living the perfect life instead.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, great point, Dave. Absolutely. It's not just about looking in the past, but it's actually very much about looking in the future as well and creating that perfect life. And as you create it now, you actually, as you look into it now, you're actually creating it now. Yes. Do you want to say something else? Yeah. So actually I'm gonna say that Dave and I are working are launching a program together. And if you're interested in working with us, of course, if you're interested in working with either of us, you can contact us separately, but also we're launching a program together. So if you're interested in getting all of that, the deep healing work, the breath work techniques, and coaching, and there are many other things we work with as well, such as emotional freedom technique. If you're interested in getting that and actually do the deep work, then let us know. Whenever you're ready, we are here. Yeah, so absolutely, with hypnotherapy, with RTT, we not only look in the past, but we also create your perfect future life. And one thing on trauma, for anybody here who thinks I had a normal life, I had a happy childhood, because that happens a lot with ADHD. So many people say, I don't think anything big happened to me. I wasn't abused. I wasn't, nothing horrible happened to me. Why am I like this? Um, that's what usually happens. There might have not been serious trauma, or the big T trauma, as we call it, but sometimes the small t trauma is not that small at all, because it can affect your negative word. Neglect has an enormous impact, and maybe at some point we'll stop calling it trauma, because it's actually, everybody has had trauma, right? I mean, maybe
Stress.
a different word, because
It does stress. We all have stress, right? And for some of us, it's kind of chronic stress, which has the same effect as trauma.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So a lot of, actually, maybe here's a great moment to quickly review and answer the question, in case anybody's kind of new to this whole thing called ADHD. Where does it come from? A lot of people ask, where does it come from? Is it pre-birth? Is it after birth? Why? What? in my view, it's mostly environmental, and it's hugely caused by actually it's related to chronic stress. I mean, there are studies that show the very first years, the first couple of years, are hugely related with ADHD, as well as the last months of pregnancy. That pre-birth stress in the mother and in the environment, those increased cortisol levels in the mother and therefore in the baby as well. And that kind of messy, chaotic environment is all creating the conditions for ADHD. And also there's always this kind of messiness and chaos in the environment. But yeah, huge levels of stress. It's so stressful, I can't handle this, I'm going to escape to my head. Or I don't have enough attention. Every baby needs the appropriate amount and appropriate type of attention growing up, especially in the first couple of 2 or 3 years. And if you don't get that, yeah, of course you're going to start craving that attention. It's only normal. Attention deficit disorder, right? As we have already been called, because we didn't have enough attention growing up. So really, it's not about the attention deficit in your head. It's about the attention deficit you had growing up, and now being able to give that to yourself and to your own needs, because you didn't have enough attention growing up, and you learned, I'm not important, I'm not going to give enough attention to myself. You learn to distract yourself, escape to your head, became inattentive or hyperactive. Same thing, just in the outer world, as opposed to your head, and distract yourself all the time rather than actually focusing on filling your needs, because there was no one to fill your needs to begin with when you're incapable of filling your own needs. But now you're an adult, so now you can fulfill your own needs, and we are here to teach you how to do that. I'm just going to read some comments. Anne says, trauma causes the brain to shut down, so it doesn't make any difference if the trauma is big or small. It is a brain reaction. Exactly. And actually, there has been evidence recently that the smaller trauma, the neglect, is actually worse. And actually, we also know that trauma isn't what happens outside of you, it's what happens within you. Was there anyone there to help you understand those feelings you felt, that stress you felt experiencing the trauma, whatever the traumatic event was, whether it was an accident, whether it was abuse, attack, stress, criticism, whatever it may be? Was there something to actually help you process those feelings? Or were they actually made worse because you faced no understanding, neglect, distraction? Don't worry about it. It will be fine. Yeah, what are you complaining about? It's not so bad. Other kids have it worse. It's probably one of the worst things you can hear as a child, when you're feeling those feelings. And you learn to think that your feelings are not important. You learn to think that, oh, well, I shouldn't feel that way. Therefore, distraction. Therefore, ADHD potentially. Parents had war trauma with World War II. How could they do better with the damage done in their child? Was this a generational issue? Of course. So yes, it's not that the parents were ill-intentioned. It's just, yeah, parents had war trauma in World War II. In this day and age, we are busier and busier. We get back to work, especially in the States, but not so very different in the UK and in the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. We go back to work shortly after giving birth, so that those first formative months are just not, there's no one to take care of us. They're more, children are given some electronic device to distract themselves with. Is just not what we need biologically from our primary caregivers. What we need is a stable upbringing for the first at least 18 months. Attachment theory has shown that the first 18 months are crucial for proper attachment and attunement to develop. And that if that proper attachment and attunement isn't there, that's what messes up with our kind of chemistry and sets the conditions for ADHD, as well as other things, of course, such as attachment and rejection issues and so on. Someone here mentioned rejection sensitivity dysphoria is why in the brain. Again, attachment and attunement issues, sensitivity to being rejected. Mommy's in the room, I need her, I'm crying for her, but she's making breakfast. Sounds like it's a good thing, but actually all I need is for her to look me in the eye to soothe me, but she's too busy to do that because she can't cope with everything. So rejection, 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 not intended or intentional rejection, but rejection nonetheless. And so rejection sensitivity is a big part of ADHD. And again, when you start healing, that will change, that will transform for you. I don't know until last week how it was. I didn't know until last week how I was impulsive, as it is totally natural and consciously done. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. A nice bath sounds awful. So I thought, even when I committed to attending, my brain was going, "You're crazy. Just go to the beach," because I was on holidays at the time as well. Just go to the beach. What are you doing? And I'm so glad I did. That was the best thing I did. One of the best things I did in my life. And because it helps you overcome that fear. And that's what it's all about, right? It's overcoming that fear. So it helped me overcome that fear of, what are you doing? It's an ice bath. You're crazy. It is so good for your physical and mental and emotional health as well. So I definitely recommend that. All right, sorry, I got carried away there. So we're talking about mental and emotional space. And is there anything else we need to mention there?
Well, yeah, let's see. We had talked about the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I think we about have it covered there. Yeah, did we answer all of their questions?
Yeah, spirit. I mean, if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat box on the live. If you're watching this on replay, please put hashtag replay and let us know your questions as well. And if you have any other questions, of course, reach out, post in the group. We'll be happy to answer them. Spiritual. I mean, like Dave said in the beginning, it's very important to find what we love doing, because that will give you a sense of purpose. That will give you a constant kind of dopamine, like it's something there to go towards. A lot of us, what happens is, because of that childhood environment, when we learn to disregard our emotions and our wishes and desires because they were never seen as important, we stop believing that we can follow our dreams and that what we want is important. So we kind of bury that and we forget what that is. When we have, and we stop making goals, even when you have a short or mid-term goal, is something to drive to go towards all the time. And that will feed your brain with dopamine. So very important to find your purpose. Again, we have a dedicated live to this. Dave explained very well in that live, in that video, what it does for your brain to have a purpose. There were actually several things, several benefits of finding your purpose. So I definitely recommend watching that. So yes, big part of it. I mean, to this day, again, with all the healing and everything, I don't like doing what I don't like doing. I don't like doing my own kind of social media video editing and admin and certain admin tasks I do enjoy, but others I don't. So I outsource them. And you think, oh, but I have to pay someone to do that. It's too expensive. Well, yes, but that frees you up to do something else. Even if you're in a job, that frees you up to do, maybe to look for another job if you're not happy in your current one, or maybe to work on a side project or on your business. Not every person with ADHD will become an entrepreneur, although a lot of us will. But you can still have that support system to help you not have to deal with anything you don't want to deal with, such as having an assistant, or outsourcing things you don't want to do, even having a cleaner if you can't clean your house. Society tells us these things are wrong, we need to be super rich to do that. It's not true. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Right, Dave?
Um, right. Yeah. I think finding your purpose and passion in life. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it big. You know. So some people think, oh, find my purpose in life. That means find a job that I like, maybe. But Oh, I think, try for something really big. Like I want to make the world a better place. I want to help people find their purpose and passion in life. I want to help people heal up from traumas that they've gone through in childhood. I want people to realize, that they could create their own perfect life for themselves if they just learn how to visualize it and hold that vision, So those are really big, So I think the bigger that you can make your purpose and passion, the more good that it'll do you.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. The bigger you make your purpose and passion, the more good it will do you. Yeah, definitely. Have that overarching sense of purpose. Having that, not just, I would say it's both, right? I mean, having that overarching sense of purpose that want to make the world a better place and so on. But also find enjoyment in your everyday job and so on. And we talked about that in a spiritual, in the purpose webinar, that and that taps into the financial element. Even if you don't like your job right now, or even if, let's say, your purpose doesn't make you enough money yet, you can find a job that you enjoy. That's a high kind of dopamine job that taps into your potential, that you enjoy. So you don't have to force yourself to do anything you don't like. It may not be your purpose just yet, but it could be something that helps you get there. Or, I gave an example that I worked when I was still working on my business and I needed an extra income. I worked in a sales job because I knew, one, I enjoyed it, and secondly, I knew that would help my business. I needed to learn that skill. So you can do something that helps your purpose, and in the meantime, make some money. So yeah, there are many ways to think. As long as you start thinking outside the box, there are many things you can do to start enjoying life. And the way you start thinking outside the box is by healing. Again, once you look into yourself, heal, you open up that realm of possibility. I had forgotten that I wanted to be a business owner for over 10 years. And with my first transformational experience I had, which was actually with EFT, emotional freedom technique, I actually started remembering, I had forgotten it, buried it that deeply. I started remembering that I never wanted to work for anybody. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I just had forgotten it because I went through on some on some path that people expected me to take. So yeah, great. Okay, wow, we'll be here for an hour. Okay, so we have all these other resources where we go more in depth into each of these topics, but we wanted to give you an overview today. Dave, is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Um, and not for right now, except yeah, we're going to stay on this same track, helping the members in the group find their purpose and passion, because we feel pretty strongly that, well, when you find your purpose and passion, yeah, your life, well, you'll go into what's called flow state, and then, well, once you're in flow state, your life just flows. That's why they call it flow state.
Yeah, I love that. I'm just not gonna say anything after this because I love that that ending. Just one thing I'm gonna say is we are, as I said, working on we're launching that program. So if you're interested in working with us, just you can put it in the chat box or in the message, or just message us personally to get more details and kind of preferential terms for our first launch of our common program. And we'll see you next Monday as planned. We're here every Monday with our lives, and we pick a topic every Monday. Also, if you have preferences, if there's anything more you want us to go into, just let us know and we'll discuss it on the next live. Okay. Thank you.